That might be it. What's going on, world? Jack of all spades, CLT, back like four flats on the Cadillac. I am the beloved one, DJ Spellman. Hold tight, badass Banks, Blue Water Banks, so we hold it down for him while he's not here. But to my right, we have the pride of Africa, Ken YBB.
It's the pride of Africa, Ken YBB. Shout out to all the diaspora. Shout out to all the diaspora.
Yes, indeed. Hold tight, Jay Marlowe, a.k.a. Local 6. But we still have me, Hermanita Amaris, running the camera, so we appreciate you, sis. But today, the special guest. Now, this brother went from serving pancakes on the football field to now serving positive stories about the culture. We have Mr. Jalon Hill. How you living, sir?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. Thank you for bringing me here.
Man, like I always tell everybody, nah, it ain't about us. We appreciate you making time for us, for real.
Exactly. Now, we're going to get into your special lineup. As all our listeners know, first-time listeners, last-time listeners are flowers. This is Bank's segment, but I'm going to go ahead and fill in since he's not here today. So for you, Jalon Hill. I got it right, Jalon. I just said Jalon. Jalon Hill.
Man, nobody knew about that until you said it, look.
It's all good.
Rocky Mount High School grad, NCCU alumnus, Gamma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma.
Phi Beta Sigma.
Phi Beta Sigma.
Incorporated Blue 5, man.
Blue
Juice
5.
Party.
Blue
Stop
5.
playing. Stop playing.
General assignment reporter for the Q City Metro, journalist, freelance writer, sports editor, part-time preacher, over 230 articles written, Gist Media 2020 fellow, owner of J.J. Hill Media. Your work has been featured in Our Community Now, the West Side Gazette, Black Affiliate, Chapel Hill Mag, the Herald Sun, Campus Echo, Q City Metro, and the News and Observer. Man, you got a crazy lineup.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty deep.
So walk us into your journey, man. Explain all that.
Man, I guess in college, just trying to grind. Just being a competitive field, you want to make sure your resume is stacked up. But one advice to those in college, it's about quality over quantity. That's the key. And I learned that graduating. While you might have all these places in your resume, but make sure you have quality work, because that's going to carry you a long way.
Yeah, message.
Already with the rules.
Yeah, first message of the episode. So Jalon, man, my first experience seeing a black reporter, even though it was sports, was rest in peace, Stuart Scott. So who or what experiences, so what people and what experiences led you to want to get into this field?
What's really crazy is, being from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, not seeing a lot of black reporters. You see them after the game, football, it's white guys. Yeah. And so for me, I'm seeing Stephen A. Smith, Stuart Scott, guys like that on TV, but not really saying, okay, I want to do this one day too. But, me being 5'7", playing O-line, my senior year, you're not going pro with that. You're not going to college with that. So I've always been told I was a good writer. And so it kind of stuck with me saying, okay, if I can't play the game, let me cover the game.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm sure can't even talk. So I'm sure your media journey, you had to navigate through a lot of white spaces. Now, what is it like now working for a black-owned organization?
It's dope. It's truly dope. I feel like I'm spoiled early on because I went to a conference 2 weeks ago and talked to other reporters saying I work for a black newspaper. They're jealous because, they're being these white spaces, and nothing wrong with that. But, you might push out a black story idea, and it's always get pushed to the front. And so for me, working for a black newspaper, every story idea is pushed to the front because we're black-centric. And so it's a blessing because I'm able to talk about issues that affect not just me, but people in my community.
Now, what does the day in the life look like for a reporter/journalist? Is there any ties to the National Association of Black Journalism?
I was in it for a while in college, but COVID kind of put a damper on that, but plan to get back into it. For me, I guess starting out, mine is maybe a little bit different. I don't know what every journalist does, but for me, in the morning, workout, of course, check out news outlets, things like that, my emails, all that. Have a meeting at 11:15 with my staff. Well, not my staff, but coworkers.
Now you speaking into existence.
But just figure out a game plan for the day, for the week, and just go from there. Really just grinding, working, writing. We planning for stories for the next day, but also weeks ahead or days ahead, things like that.
Now, Can you explain for those who don't know what is the National Association of Black Journalists?
It's basically an organization of featuring Black reporters and media members across the country, and so it's definitely a amazing cohort. Just seeing just Black reporters, because like I said, growing up not seeing that, but to know that there are so many around the country doing big things, and just be able to network, because I might meet a reporter in Atlanta and have that connection in Atlanta, or meet a reporter in California. So it's just definitely dope to have those Black connections.
I want to take it back to one of the questions when we talked about navigating through white spaces. So of course, we're not trying to paint no negative picture, but like, just describe that environment, because we've had like somebody like Ohavia kind of talked about why she stepped away from a major news organization. So just talk about some of your experiences in that space.
It's definitely different. I feel like when you're, in most workplaces, you're all there for a job.
Yeah.
And so, there's always, especially being Black, whether it's the newsroom or, other jobs, being Black is sometimes a challenge around other white people. And so, especially in the reporting field, it's very different. You can't, like I said, the stories don't always get pushed like you want it to be. But for me, I try to think about that. My mindset is I want to be different. Even from what I wear, I don't always want to wear the khaki pants or the polo shirt. I want my J's, my Yeezys, trying to stand out a little bit, because when I talk to people, I want them to know that I'm human too.
I like that. All right, so what are the skills or qualities that one needs to have to be a successful reporter or journalist?
Number one, communication. It's called mass communication. So communication is definitely key to be able to communicate clearly to not just your subjects, but your coworkers, your boss, things like that. Number two, study. It's a very competitive field, and so, people always say, you should focus on yourself, but nah. In this field, you want to make sure you're checking on every outlet, every other reporter. I got a few reporters that follow me in Charlotte, and I know they probably follow for support, but they study my work too to see what I'm posting too. So it's a game. It's a game. But number three, empathy. I feel like in the world we live in today, it's very easy to become desensitized to certain things. And I feel like we're doing certain stories. Yeah, you're trying to talk to somebody for the story, but you have to understand you're human too. And so having empathy will definitely help you a long way.
I got a question before we go to the next question. So what do you deem like right worthy? Like you're saying, having empathy for, you're the person you're interviewing. So what do you deem like what's off limits? Hey, I don't want to go to this particular area with this person, or what's on limits? What do you deem right worthy?
It's really, I don't know. I feel like it comes down to what you're trying to talk about, because when you realize that you're not just telling a story for the subject, but for the reader too, there's certain things you might want to get at. And sometimes, of course, the subject might not want to tell you everything, but as a reporter, it's your job. You get asked a tough question, and so, there's times I ask questions like, man, so I don't know. On a normal conversation, I want to ask that, but because it's my job, I gotta ask you. So, it's a tough job.
Man, just hearing you say that, man. Not to get too deep in it, too personal, but what has been a moment like that where you had to ask that tough question and maybe things kind of get off the rails?
Off the rails, I feel like for me, dealing with death and trying to talk to people who have dealt with loved ones. And so, for instance, this story didn't go through, but there was a man who was missing for a while, and they found his remains here in Charlotte. And so, reaching out to his family, trying to get the story, thinking to myself, I know for a fact I'm not the only news person out here trying to find this person, trying to find their family to talk to them about the issue, the situation.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through every avenue, Facebook, Instagram, calling. I went so far as calling someone's job to get to someone. And that was a line that I was like, that's tough to cross, but, it's my job. But when I tell you, I called the girl, I called the girl, and her dad called me and said, hey, you went too far. And they were trying to apologize. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just, trying to get in contact with y'all. But it's just like, it's that moment, like, oh, that was, it's not, it's unethical, but it's ethical as far as reporting. So it's like, you got to get the story, you're trying to do your job, but it's like, there's certain things you'll do that's out of character.
Yeah, I was about to say that. When you said it, I kind of recoiled, like, that's kind of very intrusive. But you brought up something at the latter point of your response, because I've heard other journalists say there's, like, journalistic integrity. So can you kind of, like, enlighten us on that? Because we definitely not journalists. We say we're journalists, but we haven't went to school for. We don't know like the Definitely the ins and outs. But what are some of those things about journalistic integrity?
You always want to protect your subject. You know, you never want to post a story and try to damage anybody's character. And so, prime example, we did a story on this beauty shop here in Charlotte that was dealing with allegations.
The
trap beauty bar. Yeah. And so, you know, our job is to tell the facts. And so with telling the facts, you always want to give that person a chance to respond. And so, you know, I could have posted everything that the worker said and left it at that, but the right thing to do was to reach out to her and say, hey, these are allegations that are presented to you. Because for a while she was saying no comment, but I'm just like, if I posted this story and it's all no comment, it's going to look real bad. And so I'm just trying to reach out to her and try to talk to her, and she finally agreed to talk. And it was one of those things where it's okay. Well, that could have been it was still major clickbait, but what could have been major clickbait just to have the allegations, give her a chance to respond, it was ethical.
Now that's a little bit deeper. Like, I think that's something that we can incorporate too. Like, when we're talking to people, just making sure we're being mindful of that. Yeah. So now I appreciate the gems. All right. So what was it like, or what was your experience like covering the 2020 election?
So it was different because when I was really at that time, I wasn't really covering the election, but I was more so for just media. And we're trying to basically encourage people to vote. Mm-hmm. And so my job was to, basically write out different, basically just campaign flyers, things like that for people to kind of encourage them to vote. And so what was different about that was 2020, middle of the pandemic, and usually you're out there on the streets talking to people. Yeah. But in that time, yes. So it's like it's virtual then. So really it was a unique experience, meeting with my team members virtually, never meeting them in person ever. And then, you're doing things, you're doing written work more so than on the ground work. So it kind of showed at the time that social media was definitely a powerful tool because it's not just about word of mouth, but, everybody's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And so at that time, it clearly showed me that, yes, if you can still push a message out through written work on social media.
I say you ain't think about reaching out to Diddy. I always think about vote or die. Like anytime them campaign stuff comes up, I think about Diddy.
Now you say you didn't want to just be a writer; you want to do everything. Talk to us about J.J. Hill Media and what inspired you to battle against what inspired the battle against yourself short film.
So J.J. Hill Media was really just a chance for me to try to just test out my different skills. Not really a skill, but just to see what I could do as far as the media thing, because I never wanted to be a one-trick pony. I've always been told that, if your job is looking to fire people, the person with one skill is going to get fired before the person with three skills.
That's true.
Because if you have multiple skills, then you could be here and there and elsewhere, but one skill, you replaceable. So I always want to be able to just say, I can do anything. And so with J.J. Hill Media, I wanted to put myself in a situation where I was versatile. And so the video you're talking about, I wanted to do my first video to be something deep. And so in the video you see a guy who's running and he sees a homeless guy. And so they're on a separate paths of the trail, and so when they finally meet, you realize that it's the same person. It's his past. And so honestly, that video is very open interpretation, but for me, it's more so of you your own worst enemy. Because he was meeting his past, but when he got to his past, it disappeared. And so really, a lot of times we deal with things that we have past issues with and can't get moved past it. And so honestly, we're your own worst enemy.
All right, so just hearing you, further elaborate, what happened in your life to make you create that film? Was that like a personal thing, like a trials and tribulation that you overcame? Not saying maybe homelessness or something like that, but what sparked that?
I wouldn't say I never had a rough childhood. I had a good childhood. I had a good life. I've never been a person to say I was born to struggle, because I never was, but we all dealt with our own insecurities. We've all dealt with our own traumas. And so I feel as though, your past traumas, I feel like you are what you come from a lot of times. Not what you are, but a lot of things you dealt with in the past create the person that you are today.
Correct.
So sometimes it's a good thing, other times it's a bad thing. And so sometimes in order to get to that next step in your life, you have to figure out those past issues and address them and fix them.
Now, with this short film, of course you wrote it. Who filmed it for you? Who edited it for you?
My boy, I edited it, but my boy Q-Ray, he filmed on his iPhone, which is pretty dope. Yeah.
Okay. Got you. So now, let's get into a little transition right quick. We just had Aggie Eagle, right? So what's an eagle to an Aggie? What's an Aggie to an eagle? My bad, I got it wrong. So now it was 28-13. Now, how feel being on the sidelines looking at NCCU take a win and handle business?
It was dope.
It was dope?
Honestly, when I was in college, I did sports. I covered sports. And
Correct.
So I was on the sideline with my boy Key Ray in college. And so for us to be on the sideline at the bank was just like, brought back memories. And so I had to even take a moment just to look up and like, man, like we back here. And so it was dope. And it was crazy. All throughout my years in college, all 4, we lost to A&T. So I'm just like, here at the Bank of America Stadium, I'm a Panther fan too, so I'm in the stadium that I'm always cheering in. And so it's like, we got to win. In 100 years, we lost the first game we ever played. So you got to win the 100 games. So I'm glad we got the victory.
Now you put the pads back on, or
those guys, man, they train somewhere for a living. So I wouldn't even set myself up like that.
Okay.
I ain't be that cocky from a player that's like, I can get back in. Nah, I can't. I ain't gonna do that.
I just more on that, like no flag football leagues, nothing. Like, of course, we probably still work out, but you don't really get back on the field too often.
It's crazy. When the pandemic hit, I had a couple of guys. We used to go to the park and play flag football, and I was in Durham. But coming to Charlotte now, I haven't got back into it. So I would definitely love to get some flag football leagues.
All right, there's a bunch out, but all right. So we want to talk about the real deal. Your first radio show. Tell us what it was about.
Ooh, it's a big word to say radio show, because that was just a college experiment, because it was me and my boys, Key Ray, Sean. It was a radio station in our school, for students to kind of test out, being on the radio. And so it was students could listen in from their TVs on their room, but
nice.
Who knows who listened?
Yeah.
It could have been 100, could have been 1, it could have been 0. So we was just having fun, man. We would try to organize our segments, things like that, try to bring in guests, like bring in students who were doing things on campus, whether it was music, things like that, to try to just practice a little bit. It was fun, and it kind of was a good bonding time for me and my boys. Like, we showed us that we all were into the creative field. Like, my boy Kira was political science major. Sean was into business. I was the only person that was actually in mass communications, but we all had the love for media.
Yeah. Well, shoot. Just hearing that, like, what sparked that though? Like, you can be going through college, like we've all been on college campuses, but what made you come together with them and say, let's do this?
When I worked for the Campus Echo, our school newspaper, and so being in there, I was bored sometimes. I think I was the only guy in there for a period of time. No, I had edited, I was a guy, but this want my boys to be around me. And there was an office, they had a couch in there, so they would come in there and chill with me. And so we always went to try new stuff. And so we went downstairs one day, we started a radio station. We was like, hey, can anybody come here? And the lady said, yeah. So it was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it was dope.
Word. All right, so we want to take a look at this tweet that you put out.
That's a scary thought.
Every time, look,
everybody says
every time we talk about past tweets, past Facebook posts, people get a little bit nervous, but it's all good. It's all love. So this one is coming from January 3rd of 2021, and it says, being a man isn't always about fighting or raising your voice, but how you handle certain situations with intelligence instead of emotions. Speak on that.
What's crazy is I can remember that tweet, but I don't know why I tweeted it. But I guess hearing it now is very key today, especially not just for men, but men and women. But I can say this to especially black men. I feel like sometimes we try to push our message across through our physical traits, or our voice. But a lot of times, while it might have an impact at that moment, it'll affect you in the long run.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being at your job and your boss is getting your nerves, but instead of thinking intelligently, you get mad and you hit them or you yell at them. Like, that's not gonna help you in the long run. So I feel as though as a people, we have to learn how to think before we act. Powerful Martin Luther King, he spoke on peace, but you put peace and then you add on what he was saying, peace, but also being intellectual, not always reacting the way you want to, but think about what you want to do.
Now, as me being an educator working with a lot of at-risk youth, yeah, that's definitely the message I try to convey to them, because eye for an eye. What's the saying? Eye for an eye. Everybody will be blind. So sometimes you do got to just think about it because, like you said, you might get that immediate, not even a win, but you knock somebody out, but then now you got a arrest record or they coming back to try to shoot at you like.
Those ramifications be heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really got to think those things through.
100%.
The older you get, it's like you got to realize this risk. Like, as a kid, you might be able to get away with it.
Yeah, they might give you a first, second chance type of thing while you're a child.
Yeah.
But when you get to your 25, 30s, your 40s, that's not the avenue you got to be taking. That's not the first recourse.
You get some time, or you're not getting stuff in the race. You're getting some hard punishment.
Exactly.
So.
And I'm gonna give y'all a gem right now, but it sparked from you, Jalon. I think it was Busta Rhymes that said this, and I hope it doesn't go over nobody's head. If you need me to explain it, Jack of all Spades CLT is where you can find us. But it said every choice has an invoice.
That's true.
That shit deep right there.
That's
every
very,
choice
very
has an invoice.
That's true. That's dope.
Now you have chatted with the likes of Muggsy Buggs and Darren Brand. Has there ever been somebody who had you starstruck when you was interviewing them?
See, when I hear starstruck, I think about somebody that's, you see somebody, you freeze up. And so I feel as though, while I could, but it's like I'm doing a job at that moment. So I can't be starstruck.
Yeah.
I can definitely say I feel like you have that moment where you're like, these are real people. And it's like, dang, these are real people. Like, you see people on TV, things like that. But it's like, wow. I feel like to be starstruck, one person probably would have me starstruck. Not even that. I say in awe. Cam Newton. That's my guy. Like, I grew up a Panther fan. That was my idol as a kid. So talking to Cam Newton, that'd be dope. So I feel like, man, but it's that moment you got to snap it. Like, okay, this is my job. Let me talk to him, correct, things like that. But it'd be definitely a awe moment.
All right, so, with the research team, they do what they do. You used to be a beat writer for UCLA football. Where are some other locations that you've kind of done work, like across the country or even the world? Like,
what's crazy, I think that's the farthest I've ever done work. I mean, it was crazy. I did it during the pandemic. And so I was still here in North Carolina covering UCLA. I was just watching the games on TV. And so it was really that, it's me wanting to grind, me wanting to have that stuff on my resume. And so they were up and coming. I think they're definitely doing good now, but they were up and coming at the time. And so it gave me a chance. Even though I was in North Carolina, they saw my work, and they was like, if you can do it from home, by all means. And so I did a couple of stories. I did a story on Darian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, quarterback for UCLA. I posted the story, and he reshared. I was like, that's dope. And so it was one of the moments, okay, this is definitely a dope experience.
But now let me just big you up, because a lot of people don't like to work. Not to say they don't like to work, but when I'm talking about work, is put in that extra work. Like, you could have just been satisfied with just this, little section of the world, but you sought out that opportunity. Where does that come from, like that kind of mentality for you?
I feel like it comes from where I'm from, in a city where a lot of people don't really make it out. People that I've had classmates that were passed away. I feel like during high school, I've had 3 classmates pass away. Just being like, that's between 14 to 17 years old. Seeing, like, witnessing death to people that's close to you. And it's just like, you gotta take advantage of life. Life is too short. And so for me, honestly, I want to grind. And so I'm just trying to. They say you should, work hard and play later. My mom said I want to play hard and work hard. I'm 22. Life is too short, so I want to be able to grind, but also have fun on the side too.
100%. I gotta just step on my little soapbox, because I'm a big believer in that. Like, I work hard, but if you know me, I damn sure play hard. Like, it ain't even no bits about it. But that was a perfect segue. Like, we reached the most popular segment of Jack of All Spades Nation. We like to call it Top 5 Dead or Alive. So shout out Jada Kiss. And when you talk about where you're from, you've said that you wanted to be the best thing coming out of your city. So what are 5 things you feel like you need to accomplish to make that statement true?
Number 1, probably self-improvement. I feel like every time I go back home, and I appreciate it, but I try to be humble. I'm a humble person automatically, but people always say, you're doing a good job. I'm proud of you, man. You're doing big things, but it's like, you can't let the hype, make you complacent.
Yeah.
And so I always try to just say, okay, yeah, it feels good to be appreciated and encouraged, but there's people out here better than me. And so I can't sit here and allow, my current success to keep me at a certain point where I'm like, okay, I'm already the biggest thing out here. It's like, no, I got to be better.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be, so I say stack my bread up. That's money and everything. But
shit.
When you got money, you can do a lot of things.
That's definitely true.
And so I feel as though, stacking my bread up because, while you can look the big game, if you don't got it in your pocket, it's like, what you doing? There's plenty of people that got Balenciagas and the nice cars, nice clothes, but it's like you got no money in your pocket.
Yeah, no, in that bank account either.
Exactly. And so I guess that point goes back to my third one would be giving back. Because my biggest thing is, the scripture said God blesses us so we may bless others. And so I want to be in this situation where I can just, I see a kid in the street and just give him some money, things like that. But also I just want to be able to give back to those in my city. Like I told myself I want to start a scholarship eventually for people who are into the media field, especially in Rocky Mount, because I feel as though in a time where people are so stuck into the streets and things like that, finding a creative outlet is key.
Yeah.
And so I feel like media definitely offers that. People love to talk. People love to write. People love to draw. Just anything creative to kind of get your mind off the negative things in life is good. Number 4, study. Continue to study, continue to grow and build my brand up, because while I do work for outlet, in the day, I'm my own brand.
100%. Man, say that again because people don't understand that. Like, you have a job, but at the same time, you representing yourself with everything you do.
Exactly. I'm my own brand. Like, prime example, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is known for ESPN.
Yeah.
But if Stephen A. Smith say, you know what, I'm leaving, you know how many jobs will offer him? He's a top free agent.
Yeah.
And so for me, you can't always, yes, it's important to care about your job, but realize that you're another number. They can really get rid of you and replace you just like this.
Yeah. Build
your own brand up. And number 5 would be keep my faith. God first, because remembering that God allowed me to be here. I'm a kid that stutters, that talks slow. There's no way.
You stutter, bro? Like, you ain't stuttered not once?
Hey, that's God.
that's God did, all right.
God. And that's crazy because, that just shows that no matter what your flaws are, for me, if you put God first, he'll make a way to make anything you do perfection. And so my main thing is just, there's no way I should have been here. But with my faith in God, he brought me here.
Man, I want to touch on one of the things that you said because it resonates with me, like I said, as an educator, that giving back. So what are some things you would like to do, like just in Charlotte? Because, like I said, I work for the school system. How can we collaborate on that tip?
That's definitely a dope opportunity, man. I just want to be able to I feel like the key, especially in today, is mentorship. Because a lot of kids don't have that mentor they can talk to, don't have that representation.
Yeah.
And so I feel as though a lot of kids, while yes, I kind of not contradicting myself, creative activities are good too, but I feel like having that male figure in your life is key. And I like that you're an educator because we need a lot of black educators, black 100%. Men.
They're not seeing nothing. That's not being seen. 100%. It's like even sitting here with you and you're talking to us and you're so passionate about writing. Growing up, I never seen somebody who looked like us so passionate about writing. So it's refreshing. So I'm just sitting back here just taking it all in. And I'm like, yo, this is dope. And I'm thinking to myself, like, when did that transition happen from, like, kind of you mentioned football, and that was it your first passion, I want to say? Or was football just, you had the ability to play, so you played it?
I feel like, being a kid, having your dad in your life, you always want to make your dad proud. And so I feel like football is a sport that me and him bonded on.
Got you. Okay, I see.
And so even him being a Panther fan, I'm a Panther fan. I feel like a big goal for both of us would be for me to, work for the Panthers. That'd be a dope experience. Yeah. Not to put my beans out in
nah, you manifestation, bro. You gotta speak it. Gotta speak it.
But yeah, I think that the transition came down to really me realizing that, I'm not playing this long term, but just always being told that I was a good writer, and just, I feel like it's key for especially kids. Going back to education, it's key to encourage kids to do things that they enjoy doing. Yeah. And hype kids up, because if you hype someone up after a while, for instance, if I keep telling you, "Oh, you a good dresser," and your head is gonna come to you, "Oh, I got drip." So even if it's trash, if I keep telling you the same thing, it's gonna be in your head. And so same thing with kids. Continue to encourage them that they're doing good, Because for me, I was always told I was a good writer. I was always told I was good at this and that. And so it kind of built me that confidence.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I always had that confidence as a writer. And so it's come down to me kind of organizing it and working for an outlet and improving.
So you about to have me get into my educator bag, because what you were just talking about was self-efficacy, and one of the themes is social persuasion. Yeah. So that thing, Jalon, if I tell you you're good at this thing, you're built, like, I'm boosting up your self-confidence in whatever it is that I'm telling you. But yeah, that's
like how you always go back and you say you had greatness inside you.
Come on now,
you gotta boost it up.
Why do you think I tell people? Look, we ain't even gonna get too deep in it because it's about Jalon. But anybody listening, Jack of all Spades Nation, let me tell you, if nobody has ever told you, it's a secret right now. You have greatness inside of you.
That's right.
I just need you to manifest it. You can't be sitting on your ass looking at the TV, scrolling through the timeline, and expect to, somebody to see your greatness. Yep. You got to get out there and do it. My brother, my sister, little ones, old heads, like, it don't matter. You got it in you. Now go make it happen.
You only have one life. I tell people all the time. I don't care if you're 5 years old or 55. Like, you have one life. Don't sit here and waste your one life because you feel as though I'm a failure. We don't know what our end is.
Man, say that.
But for that moment, you have the time. Make the effort to do something with your life.
Message.
Look, that's when we got to get the soundboard popping, like gunshots on your head top, But Jalon, shout out all the social media handles that people can tap in with you and the movement.
I say Jalon J. Hill. That's my main page. JJ Hill Media. I've been doing too much stuff on that for a while, but I plan to get back into it. Q City Metro, of course. Got a shout out to the outlet. And
wait. One thing though about Q City Metro, how you got put onto them?
Man, you know what? And that's the beauty of being a fraternity, because I was looking for jobs, and I reached out to a frat brother that stays here in Charlotte, and he sent me Q City Metro, and so I applied to Q City Metro, and being black focused. You know what's crazy? I'm snitching myself. I'm applying for so many jobs out of college, and not realizing, not really taking my time to study. That's why it's important to study. And so, key tip too: if you're going for jobs, know about the job first. And so I folded because I almost didn't get hired because, like I said, applying for so many jobs, not taking time to study each one of them.
Yeah.
My boss called me random. It was probably Saturday. Called me random and said, "Hey, you're interested in QC Metro? Tell me about what you know about us." Just folded on the spot. I'm like, oh my God, like just not being prepared.
Yeah.
Applying for so many jobs, not thinking that you need to study, but folded. But what's crazy is, I don't know if he was going to hire me at first. Because after that, my mom was like, he's not hiring me. I didn't know about the job, none of that. And so I wanted to be in Charlotte so bad. So actually, I was going to work for the Goddard School of Matthew. I was going to work in childcare. Because I was doing childcare. I was in college a little bit. And so I knew for a fact I was going to be in Charlotte. Whether I was doing childcare and then doing right on the side, I was going to grind to get to the point I wanted to be. So I got a job at Matthew. A week before I started, he called me and said, "You still interested?" And the rest is history.
And there you have it.
There you got it.
All right, so Jack of all Spades Nation, you know where you can find us. Anchor.fm is the reason you can hear us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Once again, or as always, man, Amadis, you already know how much I appreciate you, but she is the reason you can see these visuals on YouTube. Jack of all Spades CLT on IG, Facebook. Do we have Twitter?
We got a small Twitter presence.
We won't be on the Twitter. We won't be on the Twitter, and we definitely ain't got no TikTok. But I think we're working on that.
Working on that.
As always, I am the beloved one.
It's your boy YBB, Pride of Africa. Shout out to all the diaspora.
All right, so Jalon, any parting words for Jack of all Spades Nation?
Man, shout out to y'all, man. Y'all are a dope experience here, man. Y'all doing big things. Just up and coming, up and growing. Truly blessing.
Nah, not for us, brother. For the nation. Look, we appreciate it, but damn, it's about you, my brother.
Look, I'm always shout out to black things. We gotta support each other at the end of the day, man. So, like I said, I work for a black outlet. I'm always for the culture, always for the people. So, big blessings to all of y'all.
Yeah. Yes. So you now heard the wise words of Jalon Hill. Check out Q City Metro and just check him out with JJ Hill Media. Possibly do some work with him. But you know how we close this thing out? One time for A Tribe Called Quest. Rest in peace, Phife Dawg. Tell your mother, tell your father, send a telegram. And we out.